So there's some very big news on the RPG front, namely the announcement that Dragon Age Dreadwolf will in fact be coming out this year, according to Geoff Grubb, a very famous and reliable games journalist who has spoken to people internally at EA and Bioware who have more or less confirmed this. It's not 100%, but it's very, very likely. And on top of that, supposedly the team who is working on Dragon Age Dreadwolf is happy with the state of the game, or even very happy, depending on which report you've read. Now, I have to say, I can't remember the last time I have approached a game with this much trepidation, this much concern, but also this much hope, in the sense that Dragon Age, as I'm sure it is dear to many of you, at least in its original form, Dragon Age Origins, is a game that has remained near and dear to my heart for many, many years. It is part of Bioware's legacy. And in many ways, you could argue that Baldur's Gate 3 is a spiritual successor of that type of game. You have these cinematic cutscenes that people really like, which, as I've said many, many times, is the principal reason why Baldur's Gate 3 is popular. Not because it's an RPG, but because it has fancy cinematic cutscenes. But the story is also told really well. The companions are interesting, and their interactions are filled at times with tension, as well as humor and wit. Dragon Age Origins is just a great game. It's a bit dated now, but nonetheless, it is a great game, hands down. And with its release, there were new hopes going forward with regards to this world, the Thetis, the name of the world in which the Dragon Age IP takes place. And then we got, quickly after that, Dragon Age 2, which in many people's views is the poorest of the titles. There are 3 so far. It seemed rushed out the door, seemed to have been made very sloppily, and it bore very little resemblance to what we had come to expect based on Dragon Age Origins. And then several years pass in 2014, and Dragon Age Inquisition comes out. And Dragon Age Inquisition is kind of like the middle child in many ways, because it's not terrible, but it's also not the best Dragon Age game, at least in the minds of many people. I think the Trespasser DLC is exceptional, but apart from that, it is a decent game. It's not bad, but it's also not amazing, but nonetheless better than Dragon Age 2. But the thing about the Dragon Age franchise, and I will not be the first one to have made this observation, is that each game, each iteration is sometimes wildly different from the previous one. And so the first one was what it was, so we came to expect a certain standard. And then the second one came out, and we thought, what is this? And the third one came out, and then we thought, what is this? And so we're really going in quite blind when it comes to Dragon Age Dreadwolf. We have no idea what the gameplay is going to be like. Not really. We have no idea how it's going to be set up. All we know is that it is a continuation of the storyline of Solas at the end of Dragon Age Inquisition, based off of Trespasser, and a new story. Because that's also what sort of characterizes Dragon Age. It is this huge world, this huge continent, but each individual game tells a different story, unlike a lot of games which often strive to be trilogies, such as the Mass Effect trilogy, which again means we have no idea what to really expect. It seemed hinted at the end of Dragon Age Inquisition that the next game would take place in Tevinter, in the north, and we've seen some images released over the years that hinted that as well, but we're not sure. We really don't know what to expect here. Now, Bioware has said, according to these sources, that they are content, or indeed very content, with the results they've produced, and that it will release this calendar year, not next fiscal year, so sometime within the next 6 months. And we're going to get more information in June, with all the things being revealed as they typically are in June. Even though E3 is technically dead, it continues to live on, embodied in the month of June itself. Now, on occasion, I have talked about Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and on occasion, I've talked about Bioware more broadly. And you have to forgive my view. It's one that is somewhat pessimistic. But that's not a pessimism that's born of wanting them to fail. I don't. As I said in the beginning, I really like Dragon Age as a franchise. I think it has interesting lore, interesting characters, but when a studio needs almost 10 years to make a game, and based on the principle and track record of a studio is only as good as its last game, and Bioware has not made many good games in recent years, none of their quote-unquote last games have been good, it doesn't exactly instill confidence in me. It doesn't mean that Dreadwolf will necessarily be a bad game. I'm just very skeptical. I want it to be a good game. I want it to be an excellent game. That would be absolutely fantastic. And it needs to be, because whatever takes place in Dragon Age Dreadwolf is going to be monumental. It is going to be, by definition, epic, because Solas is involved, and his involvement means something very special indeed for the world of Thetis. And there's something even more important about Dragon Age Dreadwolf, if you think about it. And that is, in the minds of many, and in my own mind as well, it truly represents the last chance for Bioware to shine before they're shut down as a studio. As you know, this year, the previous year, there have been firings, shutdowns, and cuts across the games industry, and EA was no different. They fired a lot of people, and they also got rid of a lot of people from Bioware, including people such as Mary Kirby, who quite literally wrote Varric, a very, very popular character. Everyone knows Varric. He probably is going to be companion yet again in Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I certainly hope so. Something to look forward to. Everyone loves Varric. And so when you're firing people left and right, that doesn't exactly instill confidence in the product people are making. I have to say I'm very torn. I really want Dragon Age Dreadwolf to do well. I want it to be a good game. I want it to do justice to the potential this IP has. Dragon Age is, as I said, very interesting. It has interesting lore. It is, at least in concept, one of Bioware's greatest creations, hands down. How it's been implemented, of course, is a different story. Given what we've observed in recent weeks and in the last 2 years, what do you think will happen if Dragon Age Dreadwolf, regardless of how very happy Bioware might be with the product they've made, what do you think will happen if Dragon Age Dreadwolf does not perform well enough in terms of sales? Because let's be honest, that's the only thing that EA and the CEO, Andrew Wilson, care about. They don't care about the game quality, they don't care about the story, they don't care about it necessarily even being popular, other than, did it sell well? Did lots of people buy this? Did lots of people buy this? Okay, good. We'll greenlight another Dragon Age game. And the other reason why this is such an important release is that the fate of Mass Effect is very much contingent on Dragon Age Dreadwolf, which seems odd because they're two separate IPs, right? Well, it's not that odd, considering that, again, Dragon Age Dreadwolf does not perform well fiscally, financially, and Bioware gets shut down as a result, something that is not inconceivable. Quite the opposite. It's very plausible if it doesn't perform well, it could get shut down. What do you think is going to happen with Mass Effect? Do you think EA is going to have the grace to allow them to try one last time, to try to milk it and make money? Probably not. Although depending on how far Mass Effect 5 or whatever it's called is in production, they might allow for that final release. That said, we gotta be honest, EA makes most of its money off of live service transactions. We are currently on FIFA edition 9037 at this current moment. And I'm obviously being a bit hyperbolic, but you get my point. EA does not care about RPGs. They never really have, especially when they discovered how much money they could make off of games like Battlefield and FIFA and Madden and all the other stuff. So Dragon Age Dreadwolf is not just important for the Dragon Age franchise, but it's important for the existence of Bioware, and as a consequence, it is just as important for the existence of the Mass Effect IP, because if Bioware gets shut down and dissolved, where will Mass Effect go? So really, everything is riding on Dragon Age Dreadwolf when it comes to this corner of RPGs, and specifically the once great studio Bioware, which we have to be blunt and honest has seen better days. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I am, as I said at the outset, very trepidatiously, very cautiously looking forward to Dragon Age Dreadwolf. I plan on talking about it on the channel, as I certainly want to see a conclusion to the story of Solus. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you just as trepidatiously looking forward to Dragon Age Dreadwolf? Do you not care? Do you think it is hands down going to be an amazing game? I'm curious to hear what you have to say. And as always, thank you for tuning in. If you like my content, you can leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Be much appreciated. And I'll check you out next time. Take care.